Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today's Friday and it's February the 18th, 2022. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to extend to you a warm welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets, so you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And our story today comes from the Outer Banks here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, small plane crashes off North Carolina coast. 8 people are dead. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. Now, it was last Sunday evening when we learned that a single-engine plane with 8 people on board, we learned that it had been reported missing. It was stated that the plane departed the nearby Hyde County Airport, pictured here as the Michael J. Smith Field. So the plane left there at approximately 1:35 p.m. and was last seen around 2 p.m. in the area identified here as Drum Inlet. That's the last reported sighting. The news report simply stated that the Coast Guard and local authorities were searching the nearby waters. And if you're familiar with the area, you immediately realize that if they're searching that large body of water, the possibility of having fatalities would very much become a reality. And it did. A few hours later, more information was released, and we learned that the plane had crashed into the ocean off the Carolina coast, and that search and rescue mission was underway. Authorities stated it was unlikely that anyone would have survived. And despite the reports of debris from the plane being seen in several areas, we remained hopeful and prayerful. The next day, we learned that one body had been recovered, and like other communities across the Carolinas, we joined the community of Down East in prayer, because even though no one was saying it openly, we expected the worst. And even more devastating was when we learned that among the 8 missing people were 4 teenagers from the nearby Carteret High School. I decided not to make a video until all of the bodies were found, and sadly, that's where we are at present. Reports say the group had been returning from a Sunday duck hunting trip. Authorities say that 26 minutes into the flight, the plane started behaving erratically and vanished from radar and then crashed into the ocean near Drum Inlet. Now, the Coast Guard had worked tirelessly ever since this accident happened in their search to find the aircraft, to find survivors, and then to locate remains. They had searched thousands of miles along the coast, and by Tuesday evening, first we learned that another body was found, so that was 2, and then we learned that they had suspended their search for passengers, and that's a nice way of saying, well, we've given it all we had. But they did say they had recovered several pieces of the aircraft, to include the flight data recorder, and had turned those pieces over to the National Transportation Safety Board for analysis or for investigation. And the following day, which was Wednesday, we learned that all victims had been recovered. All 8 victims had been recovered. And so, thanks to the dedicated work of the Coast Guard and all of the other support agencies involved in the search and rescue mission, we have reached one more step along that grieving process, with the knowledge that all of the victims have been found and families have been notified. And here are the names. And as you can see, there are families, not just individuals, who perished in this terrible accident. You have the pilot, 67-year-old Ernest Rawls. He died along with his 28-year-old son, Jeffrey Rawls. Then you had Stephanie McGinnis Fulcher, 42. Stephanie died. Her 15-year-old son, Jonathan, also died. Then you had Stephanie's fiance, Douglas Hunter Parks. He died as well. And then you have 3 additional teenagers, Noah Lee Styron, Michael Daly Shepard. Noah and Michael are both 15, and Jacob Nolan Taylor, age 16. And here you have a picture of all the 8 who perished in that dreadful accident. You have the pilot and his son, Ernest Rawls, 67, and Jeffrey Rawls, 28, the pilot and his son. And to the right, you have Stephanie McGinnis Fulcher, is 42, and her fiance, Douglas Douglas Hunter Parks, age 45. And in the bottom row, you have the 4 boys. You have Jonathan McGinnis, who is Stephanie's son. Then you have Jacob Taylor, 16, Michael Shepard, 15, and Noah Styron, age 15. All 8 victims. Reports say the bodies were taken to the cataract examiner office in Morehead City, and after they have been identified at that location, the remains will be taken to the East Carolina University Brody School of Medicine in Greenville, North Carolina, for further identification and examination. As I already mentioned, all 4 teenage boys were from the nearby East Cataract High School. They have been affectionately called the Downies boys in reference to the community of Downies, which is where they're from. And after the plane crash and knowledge of the fatalities, school counselors, psychologists, and grief crisis team members from across the country have been coming together to provide support to grieving students at the school. The principal in an interview talked about how the deaths were not only devastating to the community, but that the students were in shock, and that's understandable. So I'm sure they're appreciative of the support that they are getting from around the country today. And as expected, the entire community is still in shock. The entire community is in mourning, just trying to come to grips with the tragedy that took the lives of 8 of its valued members. In a phone interview with a friend of the pilot, his last name is Snow. I don't remember seeing his first name, but in that interview that was conducted with one of the leading newspapers, Mr. Snow stated that he and the pilot, Ernest Rawls, were like brothers and that they had been friends for over 20 years. He described his friend and brother as a great guy, a great pilot, a wonderful friend, and a good Christian man. I saw an interview by this man here, well, an interview conducted with one of the newspapers, and it was conducted, and one of the person being interviewed was Tom Harrison. He's a local businessman, and he was a friend of the victim. In fact, he said Douglas Hunter Parks was his business partner, and that's Douglas Parks pictured there with his fiancée Stephanie McInnes Fulcher, who also perished in the crash along with her son Jonathan. But Mr. Harrison stated that the plane the pilot was piloting was owned by his business partner Douglas Parks. He said his friend Mr. Parks was the most generous person he knew. He also said Parks had a duck hunting property, and he had invited a large group of young people and veterans to come to the property to duck hunt, and that they had duck hunted all day Saturday, and around lunchtime on Sunday they departed for home, and that's when the accident occurred. And now you have a small community off the coast of North Carolina trying to deal with the most unimaginable grief. And to our family in Down East, we're all family. We want you to know you're not alone. We continue to pray for each of you. We're praying for healing. We're praying for strength. We're praying that each of you will find comfort in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and in the coming months. We want you to know you are never alone, and we hope that in time you will be able to focus on the memories and the good times you shared with your loved ones who were taken from you much too soon. Our deepest condolences to each of you. We love you. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button that's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on this notification bell right here, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.